All right, everybody. Welcome to another episode of Mornings with Movers. It's been like 2 weeks, but we got a lot to go over. I don't know. Ryan don't know the topic, but we just gonna wing it like we normally do. And yeah, I'm Dwyght with Mack's Moving Training, also Moving Force for those that don't know yet. And we got Ryan with Super Move, and we're not gonna talk about his other business unless you want me to talk about it. But uh, you know. How you been, Ryan? It's been, I feel like we've been seeing each other a lot the last couple of weeks.
Yeah, man, what? I got to see you. Dang. Got the San Diego coffee. What? Saw you almost back to back 2 weeks.
Yeah,
Any
like
move events?
so networking events is everything, yeah. I feel like me and Ryan's been doing this show for how long now, and it's just like we've been able to actually meet in person like 3 times in like 2 weeks, just recently. So, and it felt like, we never skipped a beat. It's it's like I don't know, this video stuff made things like 10 times easier since like the pre-COVID and post-COVID stuff.
Yeah, I tell you, and I know there's a lot of non-believers, but like the power of creating relationships through Zoom, right? Like I know a lot of people say it's not personal, it's not this, it's not that, which I agree. I definitely like the human element of meeting in person. But you want to talk about like, look, right? We met once before we started kind of before I started kind of jumping on your show and what have you. And it was at the New York State Movers Warehouse Convention in
Hmm.
Monticello. Actually, yeah, probably 3 years, I would say. Oh no, 2 years. At this point, we met and whatever. But ever since we've been jumping on the Zoom, like, dude, when I saw you, it was like having that BFF feel, right? Like just like, oh shit, like I don't like there was you hit the nail on the head, man. Not skipping a beat. Like it was like we just resumed 2 years ago. We were walking through the casino having a good time together. So
Yeah, it was like
it was
super, super weird. I was like, and then Ryan was like, hey, we didn't see each other in like 2 years. I'm like, no, couldn't have been.
yeah. So you're starting to backdate all the conferences. And I'm like, dude, I'm telling you, was it Monticello at the casino?
Need a last minute fill in or facing an unexpected injury among your moving staff? No worries, Moving Force has you covered. Our app instantly connects you with trusted, professional movers who are ready to step in and handle urgent jobs whenever you need them. With our reliable network of vetted experts, you'll never be left shorthanded. What are you waiting for? Download the app now and sign up for free now. Your stress-free move is just a tap away.
I remember vividly, right across from the bar, as you're walking through that long hallway before you take the walk outside to go over to where the actual hotel aspect was.
Oh yeah, it was nippy that day too.
Yeah, cold as hell.
So, did it snow in your area yesterday? It definitely snowed in mine.
I'm in San Diego.
Oh, well, oh, sorry.
That's why my face is probably a little red from a little bit of the sunshine. There is sunshine outside of New York State, and that's what I'm starting to really figure out here that there is warm weather out there, folks. If you're from the Northeast, like it's okay to leave once in a while.
Well, you never home, so what you know about this up north weather.
I know enough that I know it did snow yesterday in certain parts of New York. I know it was cold as hell, and I know it's not going to be that warm today either. And I know it's going to be in the 70s today out here with some sun. So-
Let me see. Oh, it's 28 degrees. That's all right. We all right.
no, I'm actually wearing flip-flops right now. That's how excited I am to be in some warm weather. So,
Yeah. So for those also tuning in, so again, if you're a moving company, looking for some extra help, Moving Force is here for you. We definitely got a lot of people in the pipeline right now, especially for New York and the PA area. But that's not our only focus. So, but if you are in those areas, or if you're a contracted driver coming to those areas, definitely download our app, Moving Force, on the App Store and schedule your labor. You don't have to schedule it last minute. Preparation is key. So if you got a week in advance, or you know that you're going to be in town in a few days, hey, schedule your labor out in advance, and our team is ready to get going. So again, download Moving Force on the App Store. We're ready to take you on. So yeah. And then yeah, just reach out to me if you have me on Facebook as well, and I can give you more details on it. But other than that, um, I think moving force has been really, really, really busy these last couple of weeks. There's so many day laborers and contractors hopping on board, ready to get to work. So, I'm super excited to see what the growth that it'll have in the next couple of months.
Last minute crisis? We've got you covered. When your moving staff is short, Moving Force steps in. Instantly connect with a network of trusted movers ready to handle the job. Fast sign-ups, trusted network, reliable solutions. Don't let last minute issues slow you down. Help is just a tap away. Download the app and sign up for free today.
Yeah, man, you've been putting a ton of hard work, man. I remember, chatting with you on this from kind of the very beginning and all the sacrifice and everything that you've put into this. I'm excited to see this thing grow, man.
I would say
Yeah,
the downside about any tech business is tech development because of how long it
anytime
takes.
anyone says, hey, 3 months, 4 months, you better say it's like a year.
So, other than that, what else has been going on your side? I know you've been going to some events. What's the ground news?
Uh, well, I mean, there's some ground news that I think I'll bring up next week with some potential military updates, which I think is going to be very interesting. However, I just want to make sure that what I have now is verified and 100% correct. We'll just say that. So stay tuned for hopefully next Thursday for that one. But no, just what I'm hearing is just so much excitement in the industry about, hey, how things have been starting off in year 2025. Yes, I have talked to movers where they are selling trucks, they are struggling. There's no doubt. But the heavy majority of folks I'm chatting with are having I don't want to say an amazing year so far, but a year that looks way better than the past couple. And they're just super excited to kind of see where this year is going to bring. But they're also tackling this year a little bit different than previous years. It's more boots on the ground, a little bit more ground game, a little more hunters and gatherers rather than sitting back waiting for the phones to ring. So a little bit of change of pace for some of these companies that, usually the phones are ringing off the hook. That slowed down. No, they're the ones making the calls, boots on the ground and what have you. But no, I mean, the vibe yesterday in San Diego, there's about 300 moving companies that are here. About two-thirds of them, I want to say, were here last night. We did like a little pub crawl. That's probably why my eyes are bloodshot and a little bit slanted. Uh, but yeah, I mean, there's so much excitement in the air. Everybody's ready to kick this season off. So yeah, let's hope it rides out.
Yeah, definitely. So, yeah, no, it definitely is, and I definitely have seen a lot of decrease in labor force, as we talked about at the last event. That people are just like really chomping down at, how much staff members. Oh, we got the same 9 people or X amount of people that's been on our staff for X period of time. Everything is slowing down. We're some people even saying some of the military move stuff was slowing down as well, and it's crazy to see where the economy is going and just hearing people are just still having that. It's supposed to be the new norm, but it feels like it's still been super slow for people or just getting worse year over year.
Yeah, I think every year, every season, at least that I can recall, in my years in seat, every year was a little bit different. Every year you had to have a couple different tactics. Now, I guess we could have done the same thing year over year. And don't get me wrong, our organization did that for many years, and we got the same damn results. So, I think every company out there should be taking a peek at where the market is, where their actual market, not necessarily the global market, but their little mini market that they serve. Like, what's it look like this year? But again, how do you know unless you're boots on the ground, you're involved with it with all sorts of things between volunteering, Chamber of Commerce, and what have you. But yeah, I'd be making those little tweaks each season and throughout the season as well. You're going to need to make some tweaks. So no, I'm really feeling good about this year. I said it two-thirds of the way through 2024. I feel like 2025 is going to be the year. I mean, yeah, movers are going to close doors. There's no doubt. But the ones that are leveraging tech, the ones that are becoming more efficient, and even the ones that are starting to leverage some virtual and executive assistants. I feel like those are the industry's changing. We all know that. With price wars happening, the ones that have the crazy high overhead that are forced to have the much, much higher price, I feel like they're going to struggle a little bit. It's the ones that are leveraging the tech, using the virtual and executive assistants and things like that are going to be lowering their overhead. They can do a little bit better with pricing or increase their margins or what have you.
Hey everybody, my name is Dwyght Mack with Mack's Moving Training. So we're going to be doing a move and a pack today. But before we go in, there's just 10 basic rules that we just need to know before participating with this service. So number one, understand moving is a very, very stressful thing. The customer, they're uplifting their life from one location to another. They're having to call all these vendors and get all these suppliers in place so that basically they can make that transition. So their stress level is at the highest right now. We need to be a service provider that comes in and basically keep that stress level mitigated or very low. Come in as professionals and do our job the way we know how to do our job so that this customer is less stress during that move process. Number two, be on time. First impression is everything. You guys showing up outside of the window rubs the customer the wrong way. It messes up the rest of the move process. Even if you guys do the best job y'all can do, because one thing was off, this customer's mood is just off. Go up and beyond, be there before the time, as long as they're okay with it.
So this industry is definitely changing.
So you think it's going to be and you might already said it, but you think there's going to be a rush for not to the bottom, but obviously, like you said, price gouging, I guess. So it's going to just be the race.
Well, I definitely don't want to make it seem like a race to, hey, who can drop their prices and who can whatever. I just think it's the ones that can become more efficient and leverage more tech throughout the day, throughout the process, throughout the year, are the ones that are truly gonna reap the benefits of 2025 and beyond.
Okay.
I just feel like gone are the days of having 10, 11, 12 move coordinators, with all the mundane tasks. Like all this stuff now is automated. That you don't have, you still want to make the calls and things like that, right? But, back to the more you can leverage the tech side of the house, the better customer experience you can provide. And any way to kind of reduce that, old school overhead, we'll say, are the ones that are going to win. Even if you just keep your same pricing, if you're lowering your overhead by X percent, you're increasing your margins at that point. So and
combination
of a few things.
Yeah. And, for those that, don't really understand like all of that stuff, because a lot of people, we'll be honest, a lot of the smaller companies, you guys are just, you guys are throwing darts at the wall, no shade. If, if it's you or whatever the case is, don't feel, like it's a personal attack, but you're throwing darts at the wall. You're saying, hey, Ryan's talking about lowering my overhead so I could charge less or whatever the case is. And a lot of you guys don't know numbers. You guys have been on the trucks. A lot of you do know numbers. But you have to know what it truly means to lower your overhead and efficiency. Meaning that, hey, you know what? If you've been using paper a lot of paper to do printouts for work orders and just writing down stuff because you're getting customer information on the fly or whatever the case is. Again, we're still going to probably be that generation where we still using papers, but there's CRMs for all of this stuff now. Whether you go with Supermove or you go with a company like MoverBase, if you're just starting out. There's all levels of CRM for every level of which company you are at. So making sure you have a CRM, put all that information in CRM. Most of these CRMs are mobile friendly. So you don't have to feel like, oh man, I can't see this screen. It's difficult, blah, 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 blah. You can do it right on your phone. You're talking to a customer. Hey, let me enter your information. Where'd you find us? Where are you moving from? Where are you moving to? Oh, okay. Let me press this button. I'll send you the estimate. And it's just that simple, right off your phone. You're using your phone anyways. And now with earpieces, there's no reason why you can't just be typing stuff in. You to be writing stuff down is insane.
But
Um,
there's even programs out there now where you don't have to write things down. So my whole thing is you're on the phone, right? You're either writing it down in the car, in the office, on the truck, or you're on the phone doing this, trying to type into your seat. Like, no, there's programs out there that you can literally have that conversation. The call records, transcribes, blah blah blah, whatever you want to do, and it pushes that information into your CRM, regardless of what CRM that you have. So you can focus on that phone call in your car, in the bathroom. I don't care where you are. You don't need to write anything down. It's going to transfer all of that information into your CRM, and boom, it's that hands-free experience. You can truly focus on the customer, making sure you're asking the right questions. And then obviously, if any objections pop up or anything like that, boom, AI pops it up on the screen to help you walk through. Hey, the customer says it's expensive, or let me think about that, or what have you. So there's programs out there that'll do all this stuff for you. Again, back to that leveraging tech. Yeah, so you don't even need to write that stuff down anymore.
mhm. So you definitely stay efficient. Look at all of your stuff. If you are pretty good about your books, look at your books, go down all of your general expenses and see what is true waste. You know, when we went from paperwork and having to buy reams of paper just because we was printing out every single day, having to buy folders so that we could put the paperwork in the folders and save those for X amount of years. Um, it just became inefficient. You know, when we got to a payroll company that, hey, you know what? I don't need to print out all these W-9s or print out all of these paper HR paperwork and put it in the individuals folders and keep those for X amount of years. Now we can leverage the technology on our payroll portal and send these people like e-links so that they can fill out their HR paperwork and be good to go. And it's online. So if we ever need it for HR audit for whatever reason, we have it in a hub that we can just reference and have them go and see it or whatever the case is. We didn't need to have all that paperwork in the office now. So, you know, leveraging all of that stuff, like just taking away paper, taking away how much ink you're spending per year, will save you money just in that by itself.
Yeah, I
And
think what you're
but
spot on, man. And what most people don't look at is they look at when they're purchasing technology or whatever it's going to truly assist and power their business. A lot of these folks see it as an additional expense. They think, oh, it's $500-600 a month. Like, I don't know if I want to invest in that right now, because money's tight, this, whatever the case may be. But you made a great point. You look at what you're spending on paper, what you're looking at spending on the household summary of goods books and all that other stuff that you have to provide. Look at into how many errors that you have, whether it's calculating the hours or this, or the event that there is a claim and paperwork wasn't handled correctly and it goes to court, it's going to cost you. Most people are spending more money on that stuff. And we're not even talking about how much time they're going to save, but put that time savings into a dollar amount. Because for every hour Dwyght has to work on payroll, that costs something. Yes, you're the owner of the organization, but there's not a cost associated with that. With you spending an hour or two each week on payroll, which is crazy. We did that. We spent a couple hours a week on payroll. That's back when everybody was physically clocking in and clocking out on an old school time clock.
mhm.
Forgetting to clock in, forgetting to clock out, forgetting to take breaks. It was we were spending like 25K worth of internal wages on payroll a year before, again, we brought in some tech. We had the, geocache based thing for clocking in, like it was a pretty cool system. Save us a ton of money. So yeah, we were paying X amount of hundreds of dollars per month for a payroll piece, but ultimately we were saving, I think net it was like 15 or 17K between spending the money on the proper payroll piece versus how much in wages, errors, and all that other stuff that we're able to reduce.
Yeah. And it's like I heard one of my clients mention that, you know, he was paying his drivers a higher wage just to make sure that the bill of lading was being filled out properly, like stuff like that. And, you know, so when now the paperwork was coming back and it was still not complete, he was furious. I wonder why, you know, and because you using paper bill, in most cases you're using paper bill of lading. If they can't get the electronic bill of lading completed, and that's just a signature and a time punch, then they're not really looking to do their job. That's
Look, you go back many, many years, and I remember like the swath of paperwork that we used to put in the clear envelope to send out to the drivers. The drivers had to manage their truck, manage their crew, manage the customer. And oh, by the way, after all that work, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 hours at a particular job site, oh, we need you to manage the paperwork and make sure everything gets signed. When you guys are beat, whooped, you're trying to get off the job site, trying to manage the crew, the truck, and the customer. We had things that weren't signed all the time.
hmm
But it's like you look at it, I look back then, like how much were we really tasking our drivers to do? Where were they spending most of their time? We're like, hey, this paperwork, obviously paperwork's critical, right? Your paperwork's wrong, you're going to lose. You're going to
hmm
get hurt. It's going to cost you money. So we put this big emphasis on paperwork. Well, then, drivers' sole focus now is, oh, I got to get this paperwork, which yes, but do they miss some things on the truck? Are they missing guiding their crew? Are they providing that We got to simplify it for our drivers and laborers, right? I mean,
Yeah,
it's a
got to
tough job
streamline it.
as it is. It's hard to find really, really good people to do this. And the more we throw at them, of course, the more errors that are going to happen. So again, simplifying the process for everybody on the team, not just drivers and laborers, but simplify it for your move coordinators, your salespeople, your financial people. Like, keep shit simple, man. I feel like
hmm
sometimes this industry gets um, too down in the weeds, like trying to complicate all sorts of stuff. Just keep it simple.
Oh yeah, hold on. Let's go down that list of things that the driver needs to be concerned about. You said paperwork.
Yeah,
They got to
manage
worry
my
about
truck.
the equipment. Yeah, the equipment. They also got to worry about, oh, let's get that Google review at the end of the job. And then they got to worry about the efficiency of their guys on the job. And it's just like, geez, like something's going to get dropped because at the end of the day, they're field people. Why are they so concerned about so many different things? And yes, they're getting paid a little bit more than the mover, but they're essentially doing the same job. They're just driving the truck.
But paying your guys an extra hour or dollar or two an hour, is that truly going to change how they operate? Like, I don't know. That's just a question I'm throwing out there. Like, I know if you came to me like, hey, you know what? Instead of $27 an hour, I'm gonna give you 28, but I need you to do blah 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 blah. That extra dollar an hour times the 40 hours a week, $40 less taxes. What is that? 25 to $27 is going to end up more in my check. Yet I'm taking on additional tasks. Is that going to make me do better work? Probably not. But performance-based pay piece where, hey, you're getting X amount of 5-star reviews. Your truck is in X condition. Um, your paperwork is perfectly done every single time. Putting some performance-based pay behind those metrics over the $27 additional a week that you were initially going to offer me, I think I'd take the performance-based pay piece
Mhm.
and focus a little bit more on that. But because there's more in it for me.
Yeah,
Right?
I haven't been obviously I haven't been on the moving side of things in a very long time, but I just feel like before I left, I was at like 22-20 ratio between drivers and movers, or a 22-18 ratio. And now I can't even imagine where they're at right now with driver to mover ratio.
Yeah, I have no clue. Well, I can't say no clue. I see a lot of things. Some like whoa, and some whoa, high end and low end. I
So
don't think these guys are based on the rates that they're charging, and then we break it down what they're paying their guys. Either they're not charging enough, or they're paying way too much and still not charging enough. It's been interesting.
yeah, it's a weird world, because obviously the cost of living is constantly going up, but the wages, and when they do way to raise the rate wages, it's like, okay, they're just going to continue to wait and raise the cost of living. So it's like, oh yeah, well, hey, I'm making $15 an hour, and now the cost of living was $700. And now they said, oh, we're going to get a pay bump to $18 an hour minimum wage, and now the rent is $1,000, and it's just like, oh, okay.
This is what I mean, leveraging that tech, decreasing the overhead, give you more money to play with, to secure top talent. Rent's going to go up a little bit high, like it's a give and take. You know,
Hmm.
things are more than likely are not going to go down over the next how many years you're operating your company, 10, 15, 20 years. Like gas is going to continue to climb. Yes, it's going to have a dip. Wages are going to keep going. Everything around us is going up. So what are we doing to tackle that? We've got to leverage that tech. We've got to become more efficient, reduce that overhead, but still
Yeah, and it's like pick your poison, I guess. So yes, you're gonna go in a tech direction because it's gonna simplify a task. Maybe it'll simple instead of doing one task that you were doing manually, this software is gonna be able to do five tasks. So yes, it's gonna be a little bit more pricier, but it's like, well, hey, how much would it cost you to do those five tasks if you had to do them all manually? We just had to make a transition from our current training portal to another training portal, as a prime example. And both of them are great, but it's like, okay, one was, let's just say, like $40 more than the other, but the cheaper one, ironically, has like three to five more features in it that's definitely efficient, rather than having an expensive one that's like, oh, well, it's a known name brand. It has to be good. And it's just like some people were like, oh, well, if you go with cheap, you expect to get what you're going to get. But it's what people value their stuff at as well. So you have to look into that as well. When you go into buying anything, you're making a purchase on a car and you're like, why is this BMW cheaper than you know, this Lambo or whatever the case is? And you're like, oh no, I got to get the Lambo because it's a couple of $30,000 more. Like, I don't want to get something that's going to break down on me, and just like, okay, why? If that it's nothing wrong with the BMW. It's just you want to pay the most money so you can feel like you're getting the best bang for your buck. But in actual reality, they got both the same miles. They both going to do the same thing, but someone's going to cost you a little bit more in the long run, especially with gas.
Yeah, I mean, Lambo at 300 plus thousand or Z06 Corvette at 170 some odd thousand, 180,000. Which one are you going to go with? Me? I'm taking the Z06. Z06 is actually faster, 0 to 60, has some other performance pieces. Lambo's damn near twice the price, but it has that Lambo status. Like I don't give a damn about that. I just want to go fast. All right. But yeah, I mean, you got to figure out which car you need to drive. Do you need to have the leather and the sunroof and all the crazy backup cams, or do you just need a basic Toyota Camry with cloth, turn signals, and cruise control because that's how you operate your business? Like you don't
Mhm.
always necessarily have to go for the Escalades of the world. It's okay to drive a Tahoe. It's okay. But
Yeah, and
yeah,
always look at your transition time. That's another big piece to go into efficiency. How long would it take me to go from paper to completely digital? Can I do this off the clock, like making the transition, going through the trainings with like if you're transitioning to a CRM, can I do this off the clock where it won't really affect my day-to-day operation? How much information do I need to take in so I could transfer this to my team so that they know how to use the system and it doesn't slow us down throughout the day? And just realize, okay, well, hey, this is probably going to expect to take us about maybe 2 weeks. How can I kind of start molding them in the right direction? Maybe I need to start on it early, get the CRM up and running on my end while we're still using, the paperwork, really dial in on the 10 most important steps, and then hold a meeting and say, hey, here's going to be the 10 most important steps that you need to remember, and we'll learn the rest as we go. And basically, transition them slowly onto that. And then by like week two, if it's going to take you 2 weeks, by week two, day one, start letting them use the CRM. And now make sure that, hey, hey, we're getting away from paper. By the end of day 7 of this week, we're no longer on paper. So, get comfortable because this change ain't gonna be easy, but we're gonna make it happen.
Yeah, no change is easy. You definitely need to have a champion in your organization that's going to basically spearhead this, along with a good implementation team from whatever software, whatever gadget you're looking to buy. Where I see the most success is when there's a lot of involvement from the team. They roll this out in digestible chunks. They have a strategy. They have a plan. Where I don't see it so successful, even if it's the best technology in the world and it's a super simple 30-minute implementation type piece, is when owners or general managers or whoever's making these decisions is like, yeah, we need that, but yeah, I might let my team figure it out. I'm gonna stay back here and do my big stuff. When that type of rollout happens, when the team doesn't see leadership bought in 100%, the team doesn't buy in. Yeah, and I see this unfortunately quite often. When we have a champion that's truly about change, truly knows how to roll things out, obviously it's the success rate is through the roof. But
Mhm.
if you're expecting to just go from, going from pen and paper to any software, CRM, moving command center is definitely a different change. I mean, it's a big lift because you're so used to doing a particular way, and what works, why fix it, why change it. But if you just throw this in your team's lap and say, guys, figure it out, like it's going to take a long time. People revert back to old habits. But also, I'm a big believer in, and at least it worked for us, is uh, we were off paper at this time, and that was a big challenge. But when we went from one system to another, we basically lived in the old system. Hey, we're going to run for the next week or two, or 2 weeks. We're going to run everything through our current system, but we're also going to double up that work and we're going to put it in the new system. It is going to create double work for a little bit. At least it did for us, but it also got our team to buy in way faster because like I am so sick of double entry. So they were like that 2 week time frame that we gave. It was like after I don't know 4 or 5 days, we're like, hey, can we shut the old thing down now? Like we're good. We don't want a double entry. But again, I
Exactly.
think when you roll it out and how you roll it out too. I mean, you don't want to roll something out while you got 7, 8, 9, 10 jobs a day. I think that's crazy. But you know, right after peak season ends, or whenever your peak season ends, I think at that point you need to not start looking into, like to me, towards that end of summer or even summer. It's going to highlight where your pain is. It's going to show you where you need to become more efficient. So take those notes throughout peak when you're busy and putting out fires and truly find what you're looking to solve for. And so when you start to slow down just a touch, that's when you start implementing that change, at least in my opinion. But
Yeah, no, that makes sense. That's what quarter 3 and quarter 4 is mainly meant for. Well, not really quarter 3 because that's part of the summer still, but definitely quarter 4. You're making that plan to say, hey, we are going to implement new marketing strategies. We're going to implement, a new CRM or whatever the case may be. Um, and then if you are going from paperwork, and I know we keep hitting on paperwork, but if you are going from paperwork to a CRM, um, what worked, like Ryan said, what worked was, hey, you know what? We got all these future jobs coming up. I need you to incorporate these paperwork bill of ladings into the CRM. So now the sales team is utilizing the CRM and like, oh, well, where do I find this inventory item or where do I find this feature so I can, duplicate this into the CRM. And now they're getting efficient with it. Oh, they liking it now. They're like, oh yeah, this is a lot simpler, and probably about like their third or fourth work order, they're like, oh, I kind of got this, and it's like, all right, cool. Now that we're no longer entering any more paperwork or like future jobs, now you can start entering new jobs. And it may take you a little while because you're talking to the customer on the phone and you're having to figure yourself out through the windows or whatever the case is. But once they get it, it's going to be nice and you ain't going to have to worry about it. So that again, that's just one way of being efficient, cutting out the whole paperwork stuff. Also, hey, get a fuel system. If you don't have fuel systems where you're tracking how much fuel is being used every week, make sure you get a fuel card system or company. And like, because I went from, using like a gas station's gas cards every day. Like I have to get up early in the morning, get to the gas station. Oh, let me get like 4 gas prepaid cards that I could load up with fuel just so that my guys don't overspend. And oh snap, well, what if I didn't get up on Tuesday and I didn't make it in? Now the guy's like, oh, we're empty on fuel. We don't have no fuel. And I'm like,
Yeah, what if you're sick? What if you're trying to take a vacation? What if you got doctors that like, no,
mm-hmm.
no, but I do know companies that have done things like that. Like, how much time are you spending on that? What is the risk by doing it that way? Like,
Yeah.
that's
Yeah.
that if your trucks are empty, Dwight's super, super sick, like who's going to step in and authorize those or get those cards done? Like, no.
Yeah.
Get a nice, get a
Now how
nice
they going to get it? Because you have the actual card that has the money on it.
Yeah, nice fuel fleet card. There's plenty of options out there. It's going to save you money in the long run, plus time, and you can track it too, right?
Hmm. And that was a big thing when we got our we was dealing with A to B fueling. And they were really great. But with their reporting system, you were able to track each card. So we named each card after, the truck. And we made sure that each driver used their own trucks because we were able to track it with the truck as well. Now, with that being said, no, actually, we did it by teams. So each driver had their own teams. So their teams never changed. So we say, hey, team one gas card, team two gas card. And now we're like, okay, well, it's your gas card. You're responsible for it. Don't give it to no other driver because if anything happens, you're responsible for that gas card. So we would then track it on a week-to-week basis. It was like, oh, team one used $600 in fuel, but team two, who had the same kind of like the same amount of jobs that week, only used $300 or $400. What's the heck is going on? And we realized that team one, they were just fueling to be fueling every day. They were like, oh, let me go to the gas station to fuel. And even if they didn't go on a long hike, they was like, oh yeah, we just got to have a fuel truck, a full truck. We don't like empty trucks or half empty trucks. And I'm just like, dude, you don't need to fuel up every day. That's like $60, $70 just to, go from half to like full, if that. So we had to have that conversation, or we had to have the conversation where it's like, hey, why is there a $60 charge at 6 o'clock at night when the trucks are back in the yard at 3? Hmm.
So it's fueling up their Lamborghini. That's what it sounds
So now we're like, okay, so we tracked you can actually see the gas station that they used, and you can see that it's clearly not close to your headquarters. So you're like, okay, hey, what happened? Oh, yeah, I meant to use my Cash App card, but I used the fuel card by mistake. Oh, so you weren't never going to tell us.
that you stole. You know,
So it's all things that you can track, and if you can track it, you can measure it. If you can measure it, you're gonna be in a better shape to run a more efficient business.
we
So,
had we had a real good deal with our local fuel guy, and we actually took the opposite approach that you did, Dwight. Like we wanted, close ready to open, open ready to close. So what that meant is if the guys were coming back and there's a quarter tank or something like that, we wanted that truck filled up when that job was done. On your way back, fill that truck up because we knew that truck was leaving at 7 o'clock in the morning, had an hour and a half drive. We had to start the job at 8:30, whatever the case was that we promised to the customer. The last thing we wanted was basically that crew to get in the truck and oh geez, now we got to stop and get fuel. If a crew member's late by 10 minutes, now we got to stop here and spend 20 minutes to fuel the truck. And then meanwhile, while the truck's being fueled, what are your guys doing? They're going inside the gas station. They're grabbing coffee. They're going to the McDonald's of the world. They're going to the bathroom for the third time that morning or whatever it is. And I know a lot of companies right now, they have mobile fuel companies.
mhm.
So they're paying a little bit more for fuel, but they don't have to worry about having guys running around filling up trucks, worried about fuel cards and all that type of stuff. The fuel company comes to the yard and fuels up the trucks again. But
Dang, and that makes me feel bad because I feel like those companies lead with an iron sword, and they're like, no, we're not stopping for gas station breaks in the morning to get your coffee and all sorts of stuff. But I'm like, we were here at 6:30, 7 o'clock. Like we can't stop to grab a little breakfast on the way to the job,
I'll
but
tell you, think about how much money that costs your company. If you're doing 2,000 jobs a year, and even tie this into the dispatching aspect, what do most companies do? Everybody comes in all at once, right? Drivers, laborers, drivers are out fumbling with their trucks, hopefully doing their pre-trips. Hopefully, maybe they're not. Hopefully they are. They're going to spend that 10, 12 minutes doing the pre-trip. Meanwhile, they've already clocked in. Now you got all your laborers there. They all clocked in, right? It's the first thing everybody does when they show up. And nobody forgets to clock in. Everybody forgets to clock out. And nobody forget to clock in, right? But what are those guys doing for that 10, 15 minutes that the driver's doing his truck piece? They're in the front office. They're hanging out here. They're smoking a cigarette on the back dock. Like that 15 to 25 minutes per guy, per crew, per day. And then they go ahead and they stop off and get a little breakfast or something, or stop at the gas station to get their Red Bulls or Monsters, a pack of cigarettes, or whatever the case is. There's another 15, 20 minutes. You're talking 45 minutes times each hour or each guy, each day, 5 days a week, 6 days a week, times 52 weeks a year. That's, is that 30, 35, $37,000
So I guess
based on 3, 4 crews going out?
it depends on your process. So I found a process that worked for me. Like I realized that technically any hour that these guys aren't at a job, it's considered unbillable, which is common. So if it's unbillable, where are we getting this unbillable money from? Are we getting it from the travel fee? Sometimes you can, but then that's going towards your fuel costs in some cases. Um, or are you getting it from your truck fee? Well, you don't want to get it from your truck fee because you need to pay insurance. You need to do all the other stuff. So what we realized was if we paid our guys essentially by the mile, hey, you know what? We'll pay you when you first get here. Do your pre-trips, do all that stuff, and make sure the truck is good before you get out the yard. But if you're going to stop at the gas station or whatever the case is, then you're technically not on a running clock. You're on the mileage time at this point. And the mileage is saying, hey, we're only paying you 25 miles to get from here to the location directly. We're not paying you to go 1 mile out the way to the gas station and then go to the customer house. We're paying you a direct spot. So that doesn't change. We know how much we need to pay per mile. And and basically even if it's like, say you went to like some part of Vermont from upstate New York, and it's like an hour and a half. Well, maybe you get, like you said, they stop at the gas station on the way back home. So now instead of being an hour and a half to come back, it takes them 2.5 hours to come back. Oh, well, we got back in 2.5 hours. So we're going to clock out for 2.5 hours instead of hour and a half. Now that's killing you. And now you got to lead with that iron fist. I need you guys to come straight back. This is ridiculous. The payroll is getting out of hand. No, but hey, if it was an hour and a half and it took you 50 miles to get back, you're going to get paid at 50 miles. And that's what it's going to be. So if y'all want to hang out, y'all want to do all this other stuff, hey, as long as you ain't burning my fuel and I got to, get on you about that, get back as soon as possible. Because one, I don't want my truck lingering out there. And
But they're still burning the fuel, even if you're only paying them for that hour and a half, but it's taking them 2.5 hours. They're burning that fuel. There's additional cost for you.
so I feel like you're going to have to leave with the iron fist either way, but you got to
I
pick
think
it
just
out.
even like smart dispatching, and I don't even have that. Driver comes in at 7, the crew comes in at 7:15. By 7:15, that crew clocks in, that truck is right around ready to go. The crew hops in, the way they go. So now it's 15 minutes worth of what have you versus the 25, 35. And
Mhm.
most people, what do? The operations team reviews jobs with the crews, hopefully the night before, but a lot of them I know do it the day of. You got 4 or 5 crews coming in, standing around with their paperwork or whatever the case is. Like that operations guy is taking 5 minutes per crew to go over that times how many crews. Like I feel like most people don't see it's mini savings, but mini savings each day, but over the course of a year is thousands and thousands and thousands of dollars. Plus the
Mhm.
simplicity of it too. Like I like what you're saying about paying this, but like how do you track that? The
Oh,
guy's clocking in
CRM's
at
track
7.
that. The round trip miles and the miles that's in the CRM. Most CRMs have that concept where it could tell you, hey, the distance.
But if it's round trip and say you're in New York, where what should take an hour, sometimes we know can take 2.5 hours. So the guy's only being paid for that hour that it should be.
You talking about New York City?
I've been to some spots in well, shoot, that Albany traffic sometimes. But
So
yeah, but yeah, there's a million ways
no,
to
yeah,
slice the
there
pie.
you have to definitely assess it because I know that one guy said that he's coming from Long Island going into New York City, and what
Mm.
should take you 30 minutes, sometimes it will take you 2 hours to get where you got to go. And so in that case, it would be like it wouldn't be efficient. You would have to like double or triple that. Like, oh well, hey, it's supposed to take you 25 miles to get there. We're gonna pay you for essentially 75 miles because we know it's gonna take you a whole lot longer. And obviously it's still a fixed cost. It's just, it's almost like doing split shares if you did what do you call it? Stocks. So instead of like, oh well, I'm gonna pay you $75, no, sorry, 75 cents a mile to go 75 miles. Instead, I'm gonna have to do maybe 35 to 40 cents a mile for 75 miles. So that basically you can make it more, you can still keep it efficient because at the end of the day, that travel fee isn't changing. But with like I said, if you are depending on how you do your tariff and how you do your rates, I never charged a fuel surcharge fee, but having a travel fee that was based on the number of men that were out there made a huge difference.
Yeah, we had travel time. We also had a fuel surcharge. We did. So local moves was done by the hour. Intrastate moves was a percentage of the actual transportation line haul. And then obviously on interstate, it was whatever formula that they had through United. But
See, now that's where you got to cut down your cost at because now you're too expensive. You got a fuel surcharge, you got a travel fee, you got a truck fee. You're like,
were we too
geez,
expensive? But we were profitable.
I would hope.
Yeah, I mean that's it. I mean, I know a lot of companies that don't charge for fuel. I mean, you can bake it into the truck, you can bake it into your hourly rate, but either way, like we're burning fuel. In my
Like,
opinion, you should be charging for
what is your
fuel.
truck? I guess what is your truck fee all include? I guess that's kind of like my concept where it's like it should include in the overhead of your truck fee, should include fuel, should include insurance, should include,
Depreciation and
maintenance.
all of that. Yeah, yeah, 100%. Yeah,
So
any way to do it. Obviously, we under our New York tariff that we had, I mean, we it was minimal fuel. So did we bake in some fuel into the hourly rate? Yes. Did we bake in all of it? No, because at the time New York only allowed us we were allowed to charge $1. Yeah, it was $1 per hour per local move. So on an 8 hour local move, we were allowed to charge an $8 fuel surcharge fee, which $8 ain't gonna. You start that
what the
truck up.
heck is that? That's crazy.
It was down to like at one point like 75 cents per hour. And I remember looking at this being like, how do you can't make money on this? So we adjusted that in the particular rate of the 2 man, 3 man, 4 man, 5 man or person crew, I should say at this point.
Hmm.
Oh, on an intra state, was it like 4% or 5%? Again, we're going back 3, 4 years here at this point, but yeah, a 10,000 pound job or a $10,000 job, you're talking 300, 400 bucks for fuel. That makes sense because we were going X amount of 200 some odd miles. It was going to be about basically that fuel was about net neutral,
Yeah. And that's
except
the
for local
thing.
move.
So without travel, at one point with the travel fee or whatever the case is, let's say it was a 4 man or whatever the case is at say 250, whatever the case is. If they had to go a half an hour, which was anything less than 25 miles, it would be like 125, but if they had to go, anything above 25 up to 50, it'd be like 250. Now for the travel fee. So it's like, well, hey, with 250 for a travel fee, one, that's covering the guy's unbillable time, as well as yeah, yeah, just really unbillable time, maybe even some fuel, because I know the whole truck fee won't necessarily cover all of the fuel at times either, because you're charging, if you're doing it right, you're charging whatever your man hour is for your truck. And it took me a while to even convert to that metric as well, because we were just saying, oh yeah, we'll charge $150 for the truck. And then after like the first bundle hours, let's say 3 hour minimum, it would be super less because now you're just charging for the manpower. And I was like, whoa. So when somebody put me on oh yeah, we charge by the hour for our trucks. I was like, what? And I started doing the math. I was like, my truck is still out there for 10 hours, but it's not making me any money. It's only making me money for the first 3 hours.
Yeah, that truck is making you 10 hours, $15 an hour is really what you're charging for the truck.
Yeah, so I'm like, oh,
We did, 3 people in the truck was $200 an hour. And then if travel time was a half hour, that was $100 that we add for travel time. If it was a quarter hour, something like super local within a couple miles, quarter hour. So at that point, you're what, $25 or whatever the heck it was. But we had it all baked in
mhm.
for the rate piece there.
Yeah, and these are things that you do maybe 2 to 3 times a year. One for your slow season time of the year, and like I said, if you dial this in the first time, only thing you have to do if you're good with spreadsheets, only thing you have to do is say, hey, you know what, we're going to charge 25%, like a 25% profit margin in the slow season, and a 35% profit margin in the busy season, or whatever the case is. And you just see the two different rates, and you're like, hey, okay, well, our winter rates is going to be for 4 guys, it's going to be $200. For in the winter months and the summer months, it's going to be 250, whatever the case may be. You already know your winter rates, and you know your your summer rates. And just obviously you can change that on a year-to-year basis and play it by ear, but you don't have to keep changing it like every 3 months, because well, in Florida, yes, you're not limited to changing your rates at a drop of a dime, but in most states where you're regulated, it's good to be regulated in a sense, because you have to stick with it. You have to earn or like own your decision. And that was one of the kind of things I liked about New York. When I went to Florida, I was scared. I was like, oh my God. People were like, oh yeah, this guy said he would charge me 106 an hour with 2 guys in the truck. And I'm like, what the hell? I can't compete with that. Like, but I need business too.
Florida's wild, man. It's the wild, wild South down there.
So
Charge what you want, do what you want, and but they're starting to crack down on that a little bit too. So
yeah, and I'm like, there's no way, like, and obviously your competitors is not every moving company, especially in Florida. But so it's like it's so scary where you're like, you want to hold your ground and charge what you want to charge, but those customers are holding their ground too, because they know they can find a cheaper option. And you're just like, oh geez, I hope I survive this year. I hope I survive this year. It's the busy season. You know what? Everybody need movers. There's gonna be plenty of volume for me, or whatever the case is. And you're just like, if I don't lower this rate, I may not get this job.
education and awareness. That's what when you're in markets like that where there's a lot of rogue folks or guys that are changing the name of their moving company every other week based on how many claims or arbitration pieces or what have you. That's where your organization needs to do a good job of educating your future customers of what to look for, what to expect, and what have you. Do they have DOT and motor carrier in this? Are they part of an association where they've been verified and vetted? Not saying that a good moving company needs to be a part of association for that. Not saying that, but there's definitely ways to get that awareness out to your future customers. Now, some aren't going to give a damn. They want the $106 an hour versus my 180, but at least we did what we could do.
Yeah, and very similar to what Austin Yarborough said mentioned the other day. Depending on the market you're in, your sales team is going to have to move 2 different ways. Where one market, your sales team could be kind of on the conservative side. They can deliver value on the call. They could build a rapport, have time to build a rapport. And then there's the other side where you're in a faster market and people don't have the patience, and you're trying to like not give them the price right away, and you're trying to build a rapport, and you're trying to like really sell them on why they should go with your service versus a company that's super cheap, and they're just not trying to even give you the time of day. So you kind of got to feel them out, because I realized, like I said, in Florida, it was, I mystery shopped a lot of companies, and they were like, oh, well, hey, I got a 2 bedroom, and I had wrote down the inventory and everything, because I'm like, yeah, they're gonna ask me the inventory, so let me just be prepared. And they're like, oh, 2 bedroom, oh yeah, we can get in 125 for 2 hour minimum, and we charge a $50 fuel and surcharge. Okay, what does that add up to? So now I got to do the math. And then obviously, that's just a 2 hour minimum. I don't know how long my job is going to take. But they come to realize that that's a common pattern out there because they're not going to tell you, oh, well, your job's going to take 8 hours projected, and 125 times 8 is going to be this. So you're going to be expected to roughly pay this. No, they're going to get in with the bare minimum because people are going off that bare minimum hourly rate. And then I feel like there's a lot of issues with that when the job goes 8 to 10 hours and customers like, I didn't expect to pay $1,200.
I feel like the longevity of your organization is going to come to a halt if you're, advertising, oh yeah, $99 for two people to move. Or I actually phone popped a company a few weeks ago and it was the same thing. Oh, $169 an hour, 2 hour minimum. I'm like, man, well, it's going to take way longer than 2 hours. And they told me flat out, well, budget more time then. I'm like, well, I'm trying to create a moving budget because I'm moving in 2 months. It'd be nice to know, is this going to cost $350 or is it going to cost $1,350? And it
Oh,
was the
jeez.
actual time and hours, or the actual amounts will be based on the actual time material that's leveraged. And it's like no virtual survey, no in-home survey, didn't want to take a phone survey. It was just pumping that cheapest price out. 165, 2 hour minimum, and a $69 travel fee.
That would drive me crazy because I would want to argue with him. Like, what do
Well,
you
and I
mean
say
budget it
we
out?
know the industry, and I think that's where these companies are winning. Is like the average consumer doesn't know how long it's going to take. The average consumer thinks, "Oh man, I can probably do this in 4 hours," but I'm hiring professionals; they can get it done in half the time. Like, not the case. People don't, and I've said this, and I'll say it till I'm blue in the face. Blue in the face. People don't understand weight. They don't understand how many boxes they have. They don't understand how much time and coordination it takes to actually kick off a great move. They just don't understand that. It's not their wheelhouse. Now we do. So we're phone popping these companies. I get very frustrated because I'm like, why are you not asking these basic questions? Why are you not trying to gather deeper information? Why are you not trying to enhance this experience? All you're doing is throwing $99 an hour, 2 hour minimum, $69 travel fee. If I know nothing about the moving industry, I call Dwyght's company where he wants to do a proper survey, thorough walkthrough, leading with value, and then hits me up with, oh, it's 185 per hour, and it doesn't take about 6 hours. And I'm like, damn. The first company I called with 350, Dwyght's company's 800. I'm going 350. Like it's just a horrible. I
Yeah,
don't know, it works for a lot of movers.
the crazy part is like you mentioned just now. Oh, it's let's say 4 to 6 hours, and it's 185 an hour. What is that? What is that? Why are you afraid to tell me what the gross price is? Because they feel like they're gonna well, I need the customer needs something cheaper. Well, no, let's say if it was 200 round figure, for the 6 hours or whatever the case is, you're talking about $1,200. Tell me $1,200 so I can kind of budget for $1,500. But
Yeah.
don't tell me, oh, it's going to be $200 an hour for 6 hours. Now I'm like, well, I'm going to still confirm with you, but now you just maybe take an extra step in doing the math.
Yeah, I was like doing the math on my phone as I'm talking through the computer with this company. I'm just like, why am I calculating what it is? And I'm like, is there anything else I should be looking out for? Like, because they didn't mention anything about fuel. They didn't mention anything about, the one company did mention travel. And then as I was asking the questions, kind of playing like dummy 101, but also asking questions I knew were going to end up coming up. Oh yeah, well yeah. By the way, there is a fuel charge, but that's going to be based on how much time it takes to do that. And I'm like, oh, okay, so there's more to this. But
Hmm.
wait, there's more. I felt like it was a ShamWow commercial. Talking to these folks, like didn't know the price. I knew the first initial down payment, but I didn't know what the end result was going to be. Am I going to end up with a squeegee at the end of the day or a ShamWow? I had no idea.
Yeah. So any of y'all have any questions that we can help address, let us know. I know we are at the top of the hour, but I hope you guys definitely got some gems and, definitely look to offer some value for these customers. Don't be afraid that they don't have the time for you. Feel them out. Break the ice in the beginning. That's the key right there. Breaking the ice in the beginning. Getting them to chuckle a little bit or whatever the case is and open them up, Hey, simple thing. Hey, how's your day going? Well, I'm trying to get my system up and where it needs to be. Okay, cool. Yeah, no, the weather is beautiful out today. Are you got any plans today or whatever the case is? Whatever you got to do to open up that customer a little bit more. Don't just like, oh well, hey, they call, hey, so I've been calling around a lot of moving companies. I got a 2 bedroom. How much you guys gonna charge me to move from here to here? Hey, how's your day going? Like really open them up a little bit. Like, don't just go with their energy because they don't know what to expect from you. So, open them up, get them dialed in, and then basically kind of like start going into your flow. Hey, so I do have to ask a series of questions before I can just throw a number out at you. And this will be me doing my due diligence to you because if I just do a number out there and it's shot way up, I'll be very upset at myself because obviously, I can lose the job, basically because you want to go with somebody cheaper when we could be right where you want to be at. And sometimes, again, you could word that however you want to word it, but sometimes they'd be like, oh, okay, I kind of understand what you're saying or whatever the case is. What kind of questions you got for me or whatever? And you go right through the flow, you know? I know, Ryan, you've experienced a lot of that as well.
Yeah, man, I always used to lead. I would ask questions. I oftentimes knew the answers too, but I want to know more about these folks before I started throwing prices around and what have you. What is their mood going into this? Are they excited or are they not? Have they moved professionally before or have they not? This typically pulled out all sorts of pain points of what worked well on their previous move and also what didn't go so well. Find out how they like to be communicated with, phone, text, email, and find out what's the best time for follow-up purposes and want to respect their time. But I always ask 3 particular questions that we've gone over on this show multiple times that truly kind of gave me that outline of how to handle this particular customer. Because gone are the days, at least in my opinion, of painting every customer with that broad brush. Everybody deserves and needs a little bit more and or a little bit less based on their situation. If they're excited, you bet your ass I'm leading with excitement. If it's a divorce case or this case or that, you better believe I'm handling it a little bit differently with more kid gloves, a little bit more tactful when it comes to how I communicate, what I say, and what I do. But, there's power in knowing who you're moving
Mm-hmm.
by
And
far.
the only time I would ever skimp on not painting the picture for a customer is if I didn't really want to deal with them. And I'm like, they seem like a customer I don't want to deal with. You know what? It'll be about $700, $800, just throw it out there. So I would recommend if you went this direction that it'll probably be a lot cheaper for you. But for us, it just don't make any sense if you went our direction, and you're kind of pushing them away. But it was like,
Like I was okay with saying no. There were some people that now early on in my career, I didn't want to say no to anybody. I wanted to book everything, right? Because you're that young, energetic, what have you. But you realize some of those jobs that you book are going to cost you more than what they're worth. The risk outweighs the reward. And what I found is if a customer didn't want to take the 5 to 15 minutes to do a virtual survey, an in-home survey, or whatever, so I could truly see what it's going to take, I didn't want to work with them. I don't
how'd
want to
you,
work with them. If
how'd
they
you
just
turn them away, Ryan?
I just was probably not a good fit. Like if they can't jump on our program, right? Like I want to lead them to success. I'm not letting the customer grab my horse and figure out how to ride it. Because I just feel like when you let the customer completely control the entire piece, do it their way, how they like, and this might sound wrong, but like we all know what it takes to have a successful move. If the customer is willing to skip particular steps throughout the process or not want to be a part of those steps or they don't care about those steps, in my opinion, that's when things started going sideways completely. So we all know what it takes. If I can get them to check to me, there's expectations. Like the customer has expectations for what the mover should be doing and how they handle things, but we also should have expectations on what the customer does. If the customer says they're going to pack their house and then we show up on move day and it's not packed, whose fault is that?
Mm-hmm.
Is it ours or is it theirs? Typically it falls back on the moving company. I thought I was ready. I'm not ready. But really, you go back to a week when your team made those pre-calls and said, hey, you ready for your move? And what's the customer say? Oh, yeah, I'm ready. Or you call the 2 days before, 3 days before, hey, you all set? You ready for us? Oh, yeah. You didn't ask them how their packing was. You didn't send them a little video to, hey, show me the progress on your pack. Most of these guys go into a lot of these jobs blind, and we were no longer going to do that.
Yep, and
You're going to set your team up for failure.
that's where Live Switch came in really handy for us. And
Yeah.
we had another company before Live Switch, but it was like, oh, download this app and then press this button and start recording, and they could do it by rooms. And I loved that concept that everything was broken down by rooms, and we could just focus on transitioning it to our CRM. But Live Switch again, just to get them their praise, they were awesome because it was like, hey, just press this link in your text message and you're
Yeah,
automatically recorded.
you're connected.
You
It's
know,
simple.
so simplicity is everything. Again, went from having a free software that was able to break stuff down, but customers had to go through an inconvenience of downloading and then having to figure that out. And when you're dealing with older customers who don't know this technology stuff, you're just like, oh, geez. So, then we had to pay maybe, a few $100 for Live Switch. And Live Switch was like, hey, just press this button. And you're just like, geez, I went from free and complicated in a sense to couple of hundred and simple. And you kind of just got to weigh the options for your efficiency. Hey, what is the ultimate goal? The goal is to try to give this customer an accurate quote as best as possible so you don't charge them too high and lose them, or charge them too low because they won't do a video survey because it's too complicated. And now, you ultimately end up charging them a lot higher at the end, and they're not happy. So either way, you're not going to win. But where you can be put in the right position, the best as possible, you got to go with that option.
It ties right back, and we kind of mentioned earlier of you got the free system, aka your paper. I don't want to pay $200 a month for Live Switch to do this, $2,400 a year because it's an expense. But how many jobs are getting jacked up over the course of that year? How much bad work is happening where it's probably costing you more than $2,400, whether it be you sent too less of a crew or sent too big of a crew because you didn't know what you're going into. How many conversations with customers like, oh, you said 4 hours, the job went 8. Well, we didn't have an inventory. We didn't see it. So are you giving back some of that money? Is the customer short paying? You end up going to like that $2,400 a year, whatever the cost is for Live Switch. I don't know. I'm just throwing $200 a month out there, but like, yes, it's an expense, but like a super valuable expense, in my opinion. Your team knows what's going on. You're taking care of your crews. Your crews should bring the right equipment. Because if you're moving large, big items and you don't have the dollies, the four-wheelers, and the right pads or bands or what have you, you're going to have damage. If you don't know what you're moving, I guarantee you're going to have the cost of that particular service. You're going to have that in claims. You're going to have that in giving money back to the customer. You're going to have that in shitty-ass reviews because, oh, they told me this and it came out to be this. Well, we actually moved what you had, but you didn't tell us what you had. And we didn't take the time to do a survey to see what you had. So your move price doubled, but.
Yeah. So we are at the top of the hour, y'all. So definitely continue to stay efficient out there. Chomp down at your P&L statement, profit and loss statement. Chomp down at it. See what expenses can be cut going into whether it's going into the summer because the summer is right around the corner, or stuff that is on the chopping block for the fourth quarter of the year. And just start working at that stuff because basically I've seen too many companies right now that's still doing paperwork and don't even have a CRM. And just to understand that the CRM can do 10 to 15 tasks that you're doing manually right now, it's insane because it's only a couple to a few $100s a month, depending on what CRM you go with. And not to have that and do 15 tasks manually, it's just absurd. So anything before we take off, Ryan?
No, man, I'm actually going to 7 o'clock out here. We got an 8 o'clock city walk before we kick off the second day of the 49th annual Dispatchers. So I'm going to go grab some coffee, put on my walking shoes, and get ready to network like crazy.
All
Hey,
right.
great convention. If you're looking to straight up network, there's not a ton of classes and it is a straight up networking machine. 300 plus movers all getting together right before peak, having a good time with their families. Great event to be at. So shout out to Dispatchers. Republic Moving and Storage is hosting it this year out here in San Diego. Major shout out to those guys. All the Lovejoys, Tim Wickers, Bill and James are incredible humans. And it's just always good to be in great company, man.
Oh yeah, definitely. Moving Force will be out there making a force too, next year. So, all right, y'all. Keep thriving out there. If you need your moving labor this summer, definitely Moving Force is the team to go to. Download our app on the App Store. Definitely comment, subscribe to our YouTube channel, and we'll see y'all next week. All right, y'all. Take care.
Number 3, Make sure your team is in uniform, they're groomed, their hygiene is checked, because that's the worst thing you could do, especially going in a house. Customer could smell your guy from a mile away, and now, again, their mood is just thrown off. So make sure that you guys are in uniform, you're tight, you have uniform shirts, it doesn't look like, you have a laborer that's, hired from off the street. Presentation is everything that goes towards your first impression. Number 4, introduce both you and your partner when greeting the customer. Don't just go to the door by yourself, while your driver is unloading the truck, and introduce yourself. Actually have both of you there. Introduce yourself first, then introduce your partner second, and then, allow them to welcome you into their home.